This podcast discusses paranormal activity and other topics some might find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Is it a chill or a ghostly breeze? A knock, a tap, what do you believe? Ghosts, gossip, gather around, where the lost and the haunted are found. Ghosts, gossip, don't make a sound. Truth or tales, we'll dig it out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Gossip. We are joined by another special guest today. We have JJ from Southern Demonology. Hello, JJ.
Hello, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm so glad you are here.
You and me both.
I have so many
Especially
questions.
after the day. Whew.
Oh, yes. It was when Chris reached out to me and was like, I have somebody you need to talk to. I was like, and I mean, I have always wanted to talk to somebody who knows about demonology. So I'm so excited because I do. I have some questions.
Well, I will prefix this. I am an ancient demonologist. So
That's okay.
I don't deal with the modern. I don't deal with the practical. I am a biblical scholar and Semitic philologist. So that's where my expertise lies. But
That's it. That is okay. That is fascinating. That is fascinating. I have never met anybody in demonology at all, like at all. So it's just to meet somebody that has studied it and knows it. So what first pulled you into this world?
so I grew up in the smallest town in Tennessee. It's 113 people.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it's like northwest of Nashville. So it's right in the middle of Middle Tennessee, but every parcel of land has either one ghost story or an entire host of ghost stories associated with it. And I grew up addicted to them. I wanted to tell them all the time, listening to them all the time. And that was kind of my gateway drug. Our family even got together when I was 6 years old to implant our own headstones, or at least the markers for them, in the local graveyard. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, death has been a constant friend. And after ghost stories, I in college I was already studying religion and philosophy. And one day I happened across a sign in sheet for biblical Hebrew. And I went, okay, that sounds like it has a good bit of shock value to it. Let's study that.
That's for
And
me right there.
yeah, and I did, and I fell in love with it. And then I started studying other Semitic languages, especially classical Ethiopic. And I then went to grad school at Harvard, and I continued studying Semitic philology and the pseudepigrapha and Second Temple Judaism. And I naturally fell into the study of angelology and demonology. Now, you would think that given my background, this would just been natural, but no, my feet just kind of fell into this. And I could not be happier. Even though that was many decades ago, I have still kept up those studies. And that's actually kind of the genesis of Southern Demonology. It was dedicated to going through a lot of the weird stuff that I got to study. And then I think my friends just got tired of me talking about it. And they're like, please just make a podcast, do something, just get it out of your system. And that was back in 2017, and here I am.
Oh, you're one of the OG podcasters.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah,
I
I've been
would.
around for a while.
That is so awesome. I will say I am ignorant to this just completely. Like I know nothing about what you do. So if I come off as like, it's because truly in my brain I'm buffering.
There's no worries whatsoever. Trust me, that's why I love talking about this stuff, because this information is not very well known. And the more it gets out there, the happier of a person I am.
Oh, gosh, I love it. Well, and ghost gossip kinda came the same way. I was living in a haunted house, and I felt alone, and I wanted to talk about it, and my husband wasn't experiencing what I was experiencing, and we were fighting, and I felt like I was losing my mind. I was like, "I have got to talk about it," and here we are.
There you go. Yeah, and I grew up in a 200-year-old log cabin that was haunted as hell. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
so I completely understand more than you
Wow.
know.
Wow. Yeah, it really changes your brain chemistry when you live in it, you know? Anybody I know, like, skeptics, and I respect them and everything, but I'm like, the moment you start living with it and you feel it, it is something you'll never forget, and you will look at the world so different.
Yep. In fact, I've ever since I can remember, I have suffered from night terrors
Mm.
pretty much nightly. I mean, and it was only in the past 2 years since I began wearing 2 different exercise medals of Saint Benedict, suddenly the nightmare stopped. And I haven't had I've had 1 minor one in the last 2 years. I
Mm.
can't tell you how much of a radical difference that has made on my life, just that by itself. So I firmly, not only ghosts, but I firmly believe because my mom suffers from this, my uncle before he passed suffered from this, and so many others in my family. I am pretty sure it was the result of a generational curse. And I am a very scientifically minded individual. I don't
Mhm.
jump to these kinds of conclusions lightly by any stretch of the word, but I can't think of anything else that would explain this.
Well, you
But
answered one of my questions. I was gonna ask, did it start after you started studying this? But it sounds like it's been
oh
something
no,
that's in your DNA.
I can remember vivid nightmares from when I was 3 years on and upward. And in fact, the last set of nightmares I had before, which actually prompted me to get the medals, not to combat those, but to combat some of the other influences that were leaking through. I had, over the course of 4 days, I had 3 dreams of the demonic. And what set them apart was that each one of these dreams caused me physical pain.
Mm.
Not just mental, but actual physical pain, and that scared the ever living bejesus out of me, to
Oh,
be
I
honest.
bet. Oh, I dealt with sleep paralysis when I was living in my haunted house.
Oh,
Never
bless
had
your
it.
heart.
Yeah, never had it before. Never haven't had it since I moved out of the house. It was terrifying.
I
Eh,
couldn't imagine. I've seen the documentary on sleep paralysis, and, that's one thing I am glad that I have never suffered from
me
because I
too.
can't imagine anything more terrifying than that.
Well, night terrors are close.
They're close, but to actually bring that and that's what scared me about those dreams is that you're bringing a piece of that into the waking world, and that's exactly what sleep paralysis is, and it
Yes.
yeah, no thank you.
Well, that was mine because when I would have it, typically I was having I wouldn't call it a night terror because I studied criminal justice in college, but focused my studies in psychology and sociology and human behavior, and I'm
Mhm.
fascinated by human behavior, even as an adult, but now I'm more disgusted by human behavior.
I can understand.
As I've gotten older, I'm like, "Ugh," but I studied night terrors and the way the brain works and behavior and stuff like that. But so I know they're different, but I would be having like a really bad dream and or like a really intense, almost lucid dream, and then would be woken up and be completely paralyzed. And it's horrifying not being able to move and only being able to move your eyes and you can hear your thoughts and it's like you're talking, but you're not talking out loud, but you think you're talking out loud, but I'm pretty sure nothing's coming out other than
Bless your ever living heart. Yeah.
My poor husband. My poor husband. He would put his hand on me, like, and he would say, "You're okay. You're okay." I can only imagine what he was going through when he was getting woken up by
Yeah, my wife, I feel bad for her for the same reasons because I know I have been violent in my sleep. So
Oh, no. Do you, like, sleep talk and
not
just
generally, no.
no?
The
Okay.
worst is if I get really, really tired, which I'm a night owl, so it happens occasionally.
Yeah.
I'll snore occasionally, but
Oh,
no, normally that's about the worst it gets. But
my husband has sleep apnea, and I have insomnia, and so us together, he's about died several times because I finally fell asleep, and then he starts sawing logs over there, and I've woken up with my pillow like, "I'm going to kill you."
my mom, she actually had sleep apnea, and yeah, it oh gosh, the snores that could erupt out of that was yeah.
It's
I'll leave it at
impressive.
that. It is. It very much is.
Oh my goodness. So let's just I don't know because I don't like I said, I don't know the difference in what you study and then like the pop culture. Can you explain the difference between your studies and what most people will call demons?
Yes, and that's a fantastic way of putting it. I would say that the most Second Temple Judaism is the time period in which an idea of duality really hit Judaism. I'm not saying that it was a monotheistic religion because it really wasn't. At least ancient Judaism, it acknowledged the existence of other gods. It just simply said God will be the one that is, put forth on the most high. But there was no enemy. There was no devil. There was just God. And so everything, good, bad, whatever, originated from God. And it was only after there's a couple of different reasons why, and we can get into that if you want to. But um, it was during Second Temple Judaism, after the destruction of the first temple and the exile, that this idea of an enemy became prevalent. And that led to essentially a 200 to 300 year quest to try to figure out who this enemy is. And by quest, I don't mean that it was just a handful of people that were dedicatedly going through biblical text to try to figure this out. This was much more of a homegrown, spontaneous, multi individual search that kept throwing up names, and they would be either disregarded or assumed into other text, etc. But it was during this time that they were really trying to find out who is the enemy of God and who is going to bring around the destruction of the world. And a lot of this time period is kind of flash frozen and imported into Christianity. And this is where most of our conceptions of what angels and demons and how they interact with the world and with ourselves are preserved and still thought about to this day. So even though I study the origins of these ideas and where they come from and how they evolved in that particular time period, it is still directly relevant to today because it's literally preserved in the modern way of thinking about how these entities exist, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does.
I don't doubt if it doesn't. So if I'm
No.
just babbling, then please feel free to stop me.
Buffering. I'm just buffering. Lots of information. You know, my experience with, let's say, quote unquote demons has been very basic.
Mhm.
I don't know a lot about them. I know that on YouTube shows, it's always, "It's a demon. It's a demon. Oh, it's a demon." And I'm like, "Not everything's demonic." And it drives me crazy because you have
Oh,
these
you and me
people
both.
you have these people going into these locations and almost like not so much spreading misinformation, but spreading misinformation because it's like you're claiming that this is demonic, but what is it? Is it like, or is it just a crotchety old guy who you keep bothering asking how did he die? And now he's angry because I know I dealt with a crotchety old guy in my house, and he wasn't a demon. He wasn't nice, but he wasn't demonic.
Right. Yeah,
So,
there is a definite difference between the supernatural and the preternatural.
what is that?
So when you're talking about the realm of the demonic, they
Uh-huh.
are not supernatural in nature. They are
Oh.
preternatural. Uh, and that essentially means that even though they are above us in terms of power and knowledge and scope, they are still tied to either a particular place or a particular time.
Oh.
And you see this manifest most strongly when it comes to, say, the Catholic rites of exorcism. And there are two
Mhm.
particular types. There's exorcism of place and exorcism of person.
Mhm.
But in either case, the demonic entity, they are tied to a locale or they are tied to an individual. And when it comes to individuals, there are multiple ways in which they can manifest. But typically, you're dealing with four different stages. And I have an entire Demonology 101 through 501 series that talk about this. And actually, Chris from the Wandering Road joined me for most of those. But it's obsession, oppression, possession, and perfect possession. And obsession is
Wow.
essentially the realm of the mental, where they're attacking your brain, they're attacking your ideals. And oppression is when that moves into the physical realm. Possession is when you actually agree to give up a portion or all of your will. And then perfect possession is not saying it's an evolution of possession, it's probably a separate track entirely, but it's a symbiotic relationship between the the entity or the evil spirit and the person. And they're dangerous and they can, yeah, there's some tales that not only Father Malachi Martin wrote about, but I've even had interviews with people that think that they have encountered these things. And crap breaks down around them. Rules of society, rules of etiquette, normalcy, everything just kind of goes to hell in a handbasket. And it's terrifying.
Wow. Oh, that's terrifying. Just the thought of it. That is absolutely terrifying. What I
Yeah.
was dealing with in my house, he was dark. I felt very there were times where I felt I guess I don't know if oppression's the right word. I've used that word before. It was dark. We him and I went round and round, and I know people were like, "It's a demon. It's a demon." I'm like, "There's not a demon in my house. There is not a demon that has just woken up and decided to move into my house." Okay?
Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
I didn't think so. I didn't know, but I'm like, I have a cranky old guy who's angry. He's just angry. So of course it feels oppressive because he doesn't want me here.
Right.
And when we broke it down, it was he truly, and you can't prove any of it. I talk about it and I said it a million times on Chris's podcast. I was like, I sound absolutely crazy because I talk about it like he is living, breathing person right in front of me. But I can't prove any of it. But it was just like, he just we never were welcome. He didn't want us there. And so after years of living there, I mean, it was just like he didn't want us there. And it's just like when you bother somebody over and over and over and over and over, he wasn't happy. I don't know.
Yeah. Where we grew up, we had at least one predominant entity in the house. And sometimes it was beneficial. Most of the time, it just loved to scare the ever living crap out of us. Our family
Yeah.
called it Patrick, and it lived in the upstairs attic in this 200-year-old log cabin. It was a bit bizarre. I actually got a
Yeah.
dream of the day I was going to die. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, that's
from this,
horrifying.
yeah, from this lovely thing. So I haven't exactly been friends with him, but there's a definite difference between a spirit and something worse.
Right.
And essentially, if sage or if your typical kind of blessings can work, then it's definitely not a demon. If you have religious artifacts in your house and things just go absolutely haywire, that's probably a good sign that you're dealing with something more than just your resident spirit.
I'll tell you one of the scariest things that happened there. The man that built the house, when he built it, I talked to his sister. So this story comes from his sister. She said that he's very religious, or he was very religious, and he
Mhm,
put 4 Bibles in the corners of the basement when they started building the house to bless the house. After he passed away in the house. His family inherited the house and they cleaned it out, but they had left some furniture behind. And one of the pieces of furniture they left behind was like almost like a really small TV cabinet. And it was like maybe just a TV table that you put a TV on top and then it's got cabinet doors underneath.
mhm,
And in those cabinet doors was the Bible. So she had told me this story when we closed on the house. And so I was aware, but I wasn't aware that they left furniture there. So after I closed, I went in and I was like, So I was going through some of the furniture that was left there and I found the Bible. And in the Bible, there was one piece of paper about being saved. It wasn't a page in the Bible, it was just a piece of paper that was typed, folded, and placed in the Bible. Well, I am not uber religious. I'm more spiritual than anything, but I still didn't want to throw a Bible away. I didn't feel
right,
right. So I was considering mailing her the Bible, but I didn't know if it would upset her. So I just kind of put it away. Well, later on, after we moved in, we had painted, we were doing some remodeling, and I walked down to the basement. This wasn't long after we lived there. And the Bible was moved from where I put it, and it was open, and the piece of paper was out and open on the floor. And I was like, I have 3 teenagers, and at the time they were about 9 and 10. So I was like, they must have moved it. I didn't think anything about it. I don't live alone, so I was just like, eh. So I put I should have looked at the page it was on. I did not. But I put the page back in the Bible and put the Bible back where I had it. A few days later, or maybe a week later, just relatively close in time, come back down into the basement. The Bible's out again. Page is open. Book is open. It's on the floor. And I'm like, so I asked my kids, I was like, hey, y'all been playing with this Bible. And all of them like looked at me like, what Bible? I'm like, okay. I will say my kids, they're kids. Of course, kids like tell little white lies, but they're pretty honest. Like you could tell by their faces. They're like, eh? Like,
right.
what Bible are you talking about? I haven't seen a Bible. So I put the page back in the Bible, close the Bible, put the Bible in the storage room up high, out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's going to see it unless they're going in that storage room. They should not be at the top of the corner looking
Right.
for it. Months later, and this is after months of me going back and forth with this thing that I cannot see. I'm dealing with lights coming on. I'm dealing with doors opening. I'm dealing with footsteps. I'm dealing with voices. I'm dealing with sleep paralysis. I'm dealing with everything. And I am at my wit's end. We had saged the house. We had blessed the house. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I am cleaning out my closet upstairs in my bedroom. I would have never put anything of that man's in my closet, ever.
Mhm,
I am cleaning out a bag in my closet, and I remember I'm sitting on the floor, and I have ADHD, so I love to stuff shit in bags, and I like piles. I had to move a pile because it was getting too big. It was right here. I was like, oh, I got to move that. I got to look
oh,
like I
I
got my life together.
understand.
Yeah. So I'm digging through a bag that I have stuffed my life in, and I pull out a piece of paper, and I open this piece of paper, and it is the piece of paper from the Bible.
Uh-oh.
I freaked out. I
I
started
don't blame
crying.
you. I
Yeah.
woulda too.
There's no way in hell I would have put that piece of paper in my closet. There's no way I would have brought it upstairs. There is no way that I would have ever moved anything like that, especially after the year that I was dealing with it in my closet. I called my husband. I was like yelling at him. I'm like, "Did you do this? Did you do this?" He's like, "Ashley, no, I don't even know where you had it." My kids didn't even know where I had it. I'm like, I finally gave him the Bible and I was like, "Don't tell me what you do with it. Just get rid of it. Do something with it. Get it away from me." So I have not seen that Bible or that piece of paper since he's never told me what he did with it. He got rid of it. All I know is that scared the life out of me.
I can't say to blame you. That would have scared me too. Are you still in this house?
No,
Okay.
no, we moved a year. Let's see, we moved a year ago. We sold it in January of this year, and by the time we left, me and him were better. It was like almost having a crotchety grandpa upstairs. I gave him his own room. I was like, if you want to stay here, that's fine. I won't run you off, but you can have this room. You stay in this room. And he, for the most part, did. We would hear footsteps every once in a while moving around. The lights would come on. We'd have orbs in the house that triggered the camera, stuff like that, just basic stuff. But
Right.
he would pretty much stay in that room. And it was our guest room. And so every once in a while, my husband's snoring like a bear. I'd have to go up there and I would try to sleep up there. And I would be in that like realm of half awake, half asleep. And I could see him standing at the end of the bed looking at me like, why are you in here? You told me this is my room. Why are you in here? So I eventually moved the guest room downstairs next to my room, and I'd be in there sleeping when my husband was sleeping, and the lights would go on, off, on, off, on, off, off, on, on, off. I'm like, ah,
Oh my goodness gracious.
you
But
know,
that's why having these outlets to be able to discuss this is so important,
yes,
because if you happen to have a set of experiences that fall outside of the normal range, people will look like you're crazy.
yeah,
And what do you do at that point? And
nothing.
all you can do is try to find a community of people that can understand and commiserate and bring them together. I mean, that
And here we are.
yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's so nice because when you find somebody who has dealt with it or lived in it and they're like, I know exactly what you mean. Like when Chris was talking to me, I was like, I lived what you're talking about. Like, I understand. You feel crazy. You start doubting yourself. It creates tension.
Yep,
And like you legit feel so isolated. But to meet people that have lived in it, have dealt with it, have survived it, and now we can kinda laugh about it and like, "Ah, that one time." It's so nice, and you feel less crazy, and you don't feel alone. Oh, gracious. Yeah, people would tell me all the time, "You have a demon, you need to move." I'm like, "First, I have a 2.5 interest rate. I can't go anywhere because interest rates are now at 6%. Are you crazy?
exactly.
I have a family of 5. What do you I can't live in a shoebox. I have
Mm-mm.
my 3 children are all the same age. Where am I supposed to go?" And yeah, but once we were able to move, like, he was sad. He was sad when we left because I think over time, his issue is he never really had a family. He didn't like women. He was kinda crotchety. He was pretty much a loner most of his life from what I understand from the neighbors, his sister, just kinda putting the pieces together. And I think he got very used to us after years of living there. And I think he enjoyed the dynamic after a while because he did get easier to live with. He did get less disruptive. He in that those first year and a half were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. But afterwards it got better. And when I left, I got stuff like I'm alone. I miss my family, like on my spirit box and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, and then he'd be like, bitch. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, there he is. There he is. There's the
Yeah,
old
you
crotchety
start to feel
bastard."
sympathy and
And people are like, "Did you tell the people that bought it?" And I was like, "Well, no, because 1, in South Carolina, you don't have to unless they ask." But I was
right.
talking to my realtor because I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" And she goes, "Hauntings hauntings can be subjective. You can have somebody in here and they never experience anything." Or maybe that's objective. I don't know which one's which.
It's
But
subjective, you're
okay,
right.
I thought so. But she can be like, "I come in this house and I don't feel anything." She's like, "But you can be in this house and you can feel everything." She's like, "If they ask, we'll address it, but they didn't ask, so we didn't address it."
That's the one good thing about Japan. There's an entire class of properties called stigmatized properties.
Uh-huh.
And real estate agents under law have to declare that something bad happened here or something else strange is going on. And you can typically locate them just by the fact that they are so much cheaper than everything else out there.
Oh,
That's
that's
why, whenever, because we were looking at houses before we got one over there,
in Japan?
and yeah, and I was searching throughout the places looking for like talismans that people had hung up or other weird things, quizzing the real estate agents about this stuff. And there was one place in which I immediately left. I'm like, nope, this place is bad. I ain't hanging
Yeah.
around it whatsoever. It scared the ever living crap out of me. So,
Oh, that's crazy. Are you sensitive?
not particularly at
Mhm,
all, but I've experienced things, so I don't think that I'm like a complete dead nail, but
mhm.
I wouldn't say that things are attracted to me. But if I feel the
I was
chills
gonna
go
say,
down my spine, then I recognize it for what it is, and I'm like, "Nope, mm-mm,
well,
I'm
when
out."
you have somebody who's quote unquote "not sensitive," right? They're just an average person, when it comes to senses and energies and stuff like that, and they don't typically pick up on stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they pick up on something like that, it's like, "Okay."
Yep, you got it.
Uh-huh. Well, that's so you're not in Japan now, are you?
No, I'm not. We're
Okay.
in the still in the US, but we are looking to eventually make the move though, so.
Oh, wow. May I ask what if they're like, why? Like, is there, like,
Oh,
job
I
or
lo no, I just love it. I was there for several years, met my wife, my kids, and they're Japanese,
Oh,
so, yeah, I would love to go back. In fact, at this point, like, I normally spend at least a month out of the year there, and I love it more than dear life itself, and it feels more like home than the US does at this point, so,
no. Well, that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love that. I've never been.
Although I had the most terrifying experience I've ever had in Japan.
Ooh, do you wanna tell us about it?
Yeah,
You're like,
it
not really."
it still takes a lot out of me when I talk about it. So, I
And
was living in a furnished apartment while I was working there, and the apartment had a very large balcony. I mean, the room itself was small. It was only like 400 square feet, but the balcony was easily another like 4 to 500 square feet. And you could actually see the Tokyo Tower right from the balcony. This is why it costs like $6,000 a month, and thank God I didn't pay that. My
oh,
company was paying
wow.
this. It was crazy. But a one night, I was up working extremely late, like 5 in the morning, and I guess I fell asleep on the bed, and the next thing I know, there is some kind of thing on the balcony. I couldn't see it, it was translucent, but it was banging on the glass vehemently and screaming one word over and over and over, but it wasn't to my ears. It was as if the sound was being pumped straight into the middle of my brain.
Yep. Mhm.
I have never experienced anything like that before or since. But it was so mentally loud that it caused pain,
Oh my gosh.
and it kept just saying, "Haidu, Haidu, Haidu," and I woke up to a earthquake alarm going off on my cell phone, and I that word just stuck in my head, and so I ran over to my dictionary, looked it up, and this is what made me think that besides the pain, it was much more definitely something than just a flight of fancy in my sleep. The word Haidu means to enter.
Oh,
This thing was
no.
demanding entry. And I know to this day that if I had done that, I would not be here anymore.
Oh my gosh.
And the thing is that the Japanese have a very definite superstition around not walking near graveyards because you will attract things back to you. And my balcony overlooked a very large graveyard. And I would walk by it every day when going to like the Don King, which is a huge mega store where you can buy a whole bunch of different crap, or
Yeah.
getting coffee every day or whatever. And I wouldn't think anything about it because I have grown up my entire life in graveyards. I would go with my grandmother and my great aunts and my great uncle, and we would go mow graveyards every single weekend because there's a ton of them. I've got a very large family. They are scattered across like six different graveyards, and the churches that they're attached to are too poor to be able to pay someone to mow them. And so we would go and we would mow the graveyards and take care of them so that our ancestors would feel peace. But after that, I had a healthy supply of purified salt on hand. And I never walked by that graveyard again because it scared the ever living crap out of me.
Uh, I'm scared, and it wasn't even me.
I
How
still get goosebumps just even. In fact, there was a so there's a Japanese horror short creator on TikTok,
Mhm.
and I like watching their stuff, but they had one video that it's not exactly the same, but it was close enough to my experience that when I saw it, I threw my phone across the room.
just get it away from you?
Yeah, it triggered a flight or fight response that I yeah, I'm just like, "No, no, it's still oh, no, I don't
Does
like it."
do the Japanese have I studied religion in college, but it was so long ago, I can't even remember. Do the Japanese have their own versions of demonic entities?
Uh, kind of. They're Akuman, which are demons, but,
Mhm.
they're more in the realm of because you got 2 different types. You've got Irei, which are spirits, and then you have Bakemono or, Yokai, which are more monsters. So you do have this idea of curses, and there are regular curses, and then there's also Tachiari, which is like a demented version of a divine presence. So you do have ideas of very evil monsters of the divine being twisted into the world. You see that, but it's not nearly as prevalent as what we have here when it comes to, say, Christianity and its kind of stark divisions. However, maybe this is just my bias speaking, but the spirits that you get in Asia, I don't know if they're just more ancient or something, but they just feel so much more malevolent.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I can see that because in my mind, I have this vision of something, like, almost hoofed, and I wasn't sure if they had something that was, like, hoofed.
within modern day, you do. Yeah, you've got Akuman and which are essentially the devil or a demon, and they can be hooved. And there's plenty of hooved entities amongst the yokai. So
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Didn't know that, but that makes sense now why it popped into my head. Uh, How this is might be the dumbest question, but how if they have that where you're not supposed to walk past graveyards and cemeteries, how especially if you live near one, how are you supposed to get around?
you can, but they just tip it like you see most people. will place out little dishes, and they will then pour a salt into a pyramid in those dishes,
Okay,
and that helps to protect the home. And they'll
got it.
do that next to exits and entrances, like balconies, especially.
Mm. Did you put some out there after
Yes,
that?
yes, I
Okay.
did.
I'm gonna
For the
imagine.
entire time that I was there, I had purified salt in 2 different dishes by the balcony to protect it.
All I
Because
can say, if anybody ever comes to my house and they see pyramids of salt in a dish, y'all mind your own business. I am trying something new.
exactly, it certainly can't hurt any, I'm telling you.
That is terrifying. I've heard a lot of stories over the past few years, and I've had some that have just chilled me to the bone, and that was one of them. I can't the I have had intrusive thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like
Yep,
somebody is speaking and you hear it as clear as day, but there's nobody there. But they're not negative. Like, mine are more like, I had something not too long ago where my daughter had her wisdom teeth out, and I was buying her medicine. She had been in pain for a couple days, and so she was
mhm,
just I when you take care of a sick child or a hurt child, like, by the time you get medicine, it's like, "Oh my god, just please stop hurting."
yes.
And I go and I pick up the medicine. I knew how much it was supposed to be, but I had bought some other stuff with it, so the total was not what it was supposed to be, of course, because I bought other things, so I didn't think anything about it. I'm a mother who's trying to get home to take care of her child.
Right.
As I'm leaving, I hear a voice as clear as day in my head say, "Check the receipt." Like somebody said it to me right next to me, and it they gave me somebody else's medicine, and
Oh my gosh.
it was heart medicine, which probably would have put her in the hospital or killed her. And it was one of those, like, moments like, "Oh my god, thank God." But I've had those before and, people have said, "Oh, you're psychic medium." And I'm like, I don't call myself that." But it was so clear. Like, I was mid-stride walking with my husband when it happened, and I stopped dead in my tracks, and he, like, was like, "Whoa, where'd she go?" And he's like, "What?" And I'm, like, digging in the back, and he's, like, looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And when I pull out the receipt and I see that the total like, the cost of the medicine was $13, it was supposed to be 90 cents. So I was like, what is this?" So I pulled it out and I was like, "Oh my god, they gave me" it was a man's medicine. It was just completely and the last name wasn't even close to ours. And it was like, they I have no clue if it was intuition, if it was my baby psychic abilities kicking in, or if it was a guardian or a spirit guide. I have no clue, but I thank God every day because at the point where I was with her, I was ready to get home, give her something to help her rest.
Yeah, I can understand that all too well. There's nothing worse than having a sick kid, and
Yeah.
you'll do anything to make it better. So,
Especially after a couple days and you're like, you feel helpless because, like so this is so off topic. She had extra wisdom teeth. So she had two on this side. So they had to cut out five wisdom teeth. And she
yeah,
was miserable. And she's a
yeah,
13-year-old girl too. Like, little, everything is like up here all the time.
yep.
I just wanted, I know it sounds terrible. I just wanted her to go to sleep. Just please sleep. Get some rest.
Oh, yeah. I've had my wisdom teeth pulled. In fact, the ones up top had cut into my gums, and they
No.
had to stitch those, and yeah, and the type of, like, pain medication they put me on, my body is, for some reason, highly resistant to it, so it would
Mhm.
work for, like, an hour, and then it would stop, and I'd be in pain for the rest of it. Yeah, I don't wish that kind of pain on anybody.
Was it hydrocodone?
Um, it was in the similar family is that, um, it started with a D. I
Yeah,
forget what it was, but
yeah, I'm the
anyway.
same way. You gotta give me the hard stuff because 'cause I'm just gonna sit there. I had my tonsils out, and I told the doctor before, I am very resistant to hydrocodone. I do not respond to it. It will not work. Well, he thought that I didn't know what I was talking about because I'm just a dumb girl. I'm not a doctor, right? So while I'm in my medicated state, he gave my husband my prescription, and my husband went and filled it, and it was hydrocodone. Well, I didn't know that because I am medicated. I am loopy. I just
Right.
had my tonsils cut out at, at 30 years old. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what day it was. And my husband gives me medicine and I'm like, I'm wide awake. It jacks me up. It's almost like I just took a shot of espresso. I was wide awake. And all I wanted to do was sleep. Just having surgery. I'm tired. I have a little baby who's crying and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to sleep." And I had to call the doctor after having my tonsils out because they would not talk to my husband, they would not talk to my mother. I had to call them, and they finally had to give me something stronger, and I had to crush it up and put it in ice cream in order to take it. I was awake for, like, 48 hours.
Oh my God. Bless your ever living heart.
Yep. That I'm pretty
Um,
sure that doctor was a demon, you know?
you have to love medical professionals that don't take your knowledge of your own body into account. It's infuriating and ridiculous. But
Right, like, I'm
that's
not some
neither here nor there.
18-year-old. Right, like, I'm a grown-ass woman telling you that hydrocodone's gonna jack me up and be like, "Whoa!" I am not dumb. I mean, I might say some dumb things sometimes, and I might think that I had a ghost in my house, but I am not a stupid one.
Exactly.
Take me seriously, damn it. Oh, we got off. That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind. I love it. Okay. You often talk about the academic and spiritual sides of demonology. Do you think that true understanding comes from research, faith, or direct experience?
So few things in life can compare to direct experience. But I am not, in fact, I am antithetically opposed to at least where I'm from, the belief that anybody can pick up a Bible and just instantly understand it. It doesn't work like that. This is why the priesthood undergoes so many years of education in order to properly teach individuals that are part of a congregation so that there are fewer heretical ideals that are being spread around. Um, and especially in a lot of smaller Protestant churches, and this isn't a dig aimed at Protestantism at all. I grew up Southern Baptist. I converted to Catholicism back in college, but I am not someone who says you must believe what I believe. If you believe what I believe, then God help you. There's no hope for you. But I don't I am absolutely against this idea that, oh, anyone can pick up a Bible and instantly understand everything about it, because you have to understand the languages in which they're written in. You have to understand the history. You have to understand the Sitz and Lebens in which the text was produced. And without those critical pieces of knowledge, you're not going to get it. And I have been a part of some truly horrifying churches that would not only get up and spew racism from the pulpit,
Mm.
but would also preach highly heretical views, such as I actually had one church I went to as part of a mission trip come forth and tell me that, oh, if you don't go to heaven, your guardian angel, which is assigned to you, will be banished into nothingness, into limbo forever. And that will be your fault.
What?
And I'm like, even as as a like an eighth grader, I'm like, that's not a thing.
That is a first for me. I have never heard that before.
Yeah. So
What?
and the more that and literal interpretations often are not literal interpretations, which is also why you get churches in which think that, yeah, I should handle snakes for fun and no problem wherever befall me. And anyway, so yeah, you have to be academically trained, or at least
Yeah.
respect those that have been academically trained that
Yeah.
can actually point to sources that go, yeah, no.
Yeah. Like, I have no idea. Like, anybody I'm like, "I don't know." Everything that I have learned has been through experience or through others who have education plus experience and degrees. They have all the things. I am a forever student, and I love to learn. And that's why I love having these conversations because I am not scared to sit here and be like, "I know nothing about what you do."
Oh, I am a forever student too. I mean, in fact, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so getting to listen to anyone and everyone is really the only way to go through life. The moment that you think that you know enough is the moment that you are dead wrong. So
I tell my kids that all the time, and I also tell them, "You better go make that money while you know everything,
you got
because
that,
that's
buddy,
gonna
right?
pass." When someone tells you that they think they're dealing with something dark or demonic, what's the first thing you advise them to do?
I do have consultations with people that suffer from things.
Right.
And even though I'm much more of an ancient demonologist, I have dealt with things myself. I have gotten to delve extremely deeply into priests who have provided a lot of insight.
Mhm.
And I've become good friends with some exorcists. So
Wow.
I may not know everything. In fact, I am not of the practical side. I at least know enough to help others.
Right, right.
And if you're truly feeling like you're being an object of obsession or oppression or
Mhm.
something else, I typically tell people to start with the prayer to St. Michael and Psalm 91.
Hmm.
Psalm 91 is one of the latest writings in Second Temple Judaism that made it into the biblical canon. And it is one of the few pieces that actually refer to or they allude to specific demons or entities. And it's talking about how God will be your refuge of the El Shaddai. Because here's a random fact. Did you know that the Hebrew Bible does not have a word for demon in it?
No, I did not.
Yeah. The closest is kind of a sha'ir, which is a could be interpreted as like a goat demon or a goat entity, but that's it. There's no mention of a word demon
Hmm.
anywhere in biblical Hebrew. And that's why Psalm 91 is so potent because it actually makes references to like the destruction that walks, the terror that flies by night, the arrow that flieth by day, etc. Those are specific references to entities. The arrow that flieth by day is actually an allusion to Lilith or Lilith, which at that time would be kind of a night hag that would haunt desert areas before she ever became much more pronounced within the Midrash or later writings to be like Adam's first wife that then became, flew off to consort with demons. She was just more of a night hag. But before that, she was one of the Akkadian wind goddesses that was more associated with illicit lust that was prevalent around the time. So,
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
and then
Wow.
just even if you can, I mean, if you can afford to get an exercised medal of Saint Benedict, always a great thing to have. Even if you don't wear it, just to put it by your bedside table, definitely a help. Or if you can't do that, just print off Psalm 91 or print off the prayer to Saint Michael and hang it up. That by itself is not going to hurt anything, and do a daily recitation and see what happens. And if that doesn't work, then that's when you would call in the bigger guns. You would go to your local church, especially if it's a Catholic church, and ask either for a blessing or, in a more extreme case, you can ask for an exorcism of locale. And, most, if you're dealing with an exorcism when it comes to an individual, that requires like bishop level approval.
Yeah.
You have to go through a whole bunch of stuff, but an exorcism of a locale does not and can be performed by just a regular priest in their discretion.
Wow. That is fascinating. I'm sorry, I am processing. I'm like, just like,
Process away.
so I'll be honest, and I think probably most of my listeners will probably be the same. I was never aware that was a difference from what you studied to the demons that everybody talks about on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's because a lot of the information, especially around names, comes from the Middle Ages, where there's a whole bunch of grimoires that were floating around, and different grimoires gave different names. They assumed that, as there are ranks in heaven, there must be a similar hierarchy in hell. They started making up names. That's why a lot of them are based in Latin or Greek rather than more ancient text. And whether they are valid or not, I'm not going to say,
Right.
but I'll let people come up with their own ideas on that front. But they're coming from much more modern sources than
Okay.
biblical ones. Now you have your biblical ones, and they have all been kind of attributed to being the devil at some point, whether that be Baal Zebub, the Lord of
Yeah.
the Flies, or Azrael or Azazel, etc.
That's so funny. You say the names of them. I'm like, wasn't that in the Smurfs?
Actually, I this is a funny story. I went to a nighttime presentation at the local Southern Baptist church where they held an hour and a half movie night talking about the satanic influence of the Smurfs. And it's because the cat's name was Azrael,
Yes.
the villain's name was, Gargamel,
Gargamel.
which was another name of a demon. I mean,
That's
it's all be even as, like, a 10-year-old kid, I knew this was absolute horseshit, so
Here we are. We have come full circle. We are talking about the Smurfs. You said the names, and I'm like, wait a second. That sounds like
Yep,
Azrael.
you got it.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. What is, as your last question, what's one chilling or fascinating story from your research or interviews that sticks with you today?
Have you heard of the pseudepigrapha?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
It is, it from Latin, it literally means false epitaphs. And it's a collection of writings between the Hebrew Bible and the Christian New Testament. And typically they're false epitaphs in that the people who claim to have written them as biblical authority figures when they were not. But you get especially like first Enoch, second Enoch, third Enoch, Jubilees. And in fact, if you look at Qumran or the Dead Sea Scrolls, then the Essenes, which were the group of people which we believe were responsible for those writings, they definitely considered First Enoch and Jubilees to be biblical texts. And there's a lot of evidence that other Jewish groups also believe that these were pretty canonical in nature. If you've never read First Enoch and the Book of the Watchers, especially the first of the divisions of that book, it's amazing because it all erupts from Genesis 6, which is, a few little passages that have confused Jewish and Christian scholars ever since that they have been preserved. Where it's talking about this, the sons of God, B'nai Elohim, came down. And I think that a lot of texts translate that as angels, but that's not what it says. And there was an entire quest by so many people to try to figure out what the heck does that mean?
Right.
And it's been interpreted in so many different ways. I was fortunate enough in my education. So I would say all of the pseudepigrapha is amazing to read, and I highly encourage it, and I've covered it a lot within Southern Demonology. But the other piece of it is I was lucky enough to study classical Ethiopic or Ge'ez in school. And the Ethiopic Orthodox Church, the reason before Dead Sea Scrolls, we know of the existence of these books because they were only preserved in classical Ethiopic. And they have a very rich tradition of believing that, Jesus was not only a Messiah, but he was also the greatest magician that ever lived. There's a very rich magical tradition within the Ethiopic Orthodox Church, same as with the Coptic Orthodox Church. But there is a book that's preserved there that's called the Kebra Nagast, the glory of the kings. And there's a passage that talks about Christ is walking by the Sea of Galilee with his disciples, and suddenly the water roils up, and the demon Nadada s- springs up from the middle of it. And she has eyes like flashing fire, and she throws her head back and shoots a column of flame, 314 cubits up into the air. And then Christ, with one magical incantation and a wave of his hand, banishes her back into the waters.
Hmm.
I love that.
Wow, you're an excellent storyteller. Like,
No, I wish.
I could
I
sit
don't
here and
have the
just keep
voice
listening to
for it.
you. Yes, you do. I'm just, like, sitting here like,
I'll leave you with one last thing. This is the other piece. My favorite passage ever written, and it comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls, is from Cave 4, and it's 4Q 510 and 11. And I'll tell you my own personal translation of it. And I, the Mishkil, the instructor, am telling you, the community that would be listening, um, yeah, hold on. And I, the Mishkil, am instructing you, in the name of God about protections against all of the um, demons of destruction. Um, oh my gosh. I think I'm encountering what Chris had the other
I
day.
have that effect on people. I am so sorry.
And I, the instructor, am given a proclamation of his glorious splendor in order to instill dread and to terrify all the spirits of the angels of destruction, the spirits of the bastards, demons, Lilith, howlers, desert dwellers, and those who suddenly strike in suddenness to lead and astray and establish spirit and to charm hearts. Finally got it out.
There you go. I am so sorry. I will apologize
No,
to you like
no.
I do to him. I am so sorry.
No, it's yeah, the longer I talk, the more I feel like I wouldn't say it's dread, but it's just like this feeling creeping over my back. It's kind of bizarre. Sorry.
Is it from me or is it on your side?
It's on my side. It's not on your
Okay.
side.
Okay. I was going to say, is it with me? Because I need to know.
No, no, no. In fact, this is why I always keep a bottle of holy water. It's actually several bottles of holy water near me at all times. So
Where do you get your holy water? I used to have some. My mom brought it back and she would go, my mom's Catholic. We were born and raised Catholic.
mhm.
And she took them and got them from a cathedral in Alabama, I believe. And she has not provided me with any more.
I can get you some. So there is a difference in holy water if you did not know this.
I did not
Um,
know.
if you're following the standard blessings that were instituted after Second Vatican Council, it's inferior to how it was produced because before it involved actually using salt and exercising the water. And now it's not. It's just more blessings over it than anything else. I've got an exorcist friend in Georgia who performs the old rite and
Mhm.
exercises the water to create holy water.
Mhm.
I can get some for you. That's not a problem in the world.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. 'Cause I liked having it, I loved having it in the house, and I used all of it in my last house.
I've got a bottle I'm happy to send you, as well. I've got 2 on me, and I can even send an exercise medal of, Saint Benedict if you would like it.
Oh, well, I would happily purchase them from you. I would hate to.
No purchase. No, no, no. I've given the offer to my listeners of if you feel beset by something, you need a medal, I will get it to you.
Well,
No
thank
charge.
you. One last question, just from your personal experience. Just I've had people tell me what I do is wrong. Because of talking about it, I shouldn't talk about it. I shouldn't talk to them. I shouldn't, how do you feel about that?
I fundamentally disagree with it. Now, will you attract the attention of things that you may not want to? Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that I know.
And the darker the things that you are referencing, the worse that attention is going to be.
Mhm.
And ever since starting Southern Demonology, I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, would I change anything? No, I would not. Because I'm not saying that we give hope, but it's more of we're providing resources and some education
Mhm.
and an outlet for people who have experienced things outside of the unknown and to realize that they are not alone.
Yeah.
And that alone is justification enough. Does it put you in the crosshairs at times? Absolutely.
Yes.
Is it the safest position to be in? No, it is
No.
not. But at the same time, it is highly advantageous to be able to relate with other people and have them know that they are not alone.
Yes.
So yeah, I understand people when they say that you shouldn't talk about it,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I think that there's a part of us that has to, because you can't leave it bottled up.
Yeah. It'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely will.
Yeah. For sure. Thank you so much. This has been very amazing just listening to you. I mean, like, I came into this and I still know nothing, but knowing completely nothing, zero zilch about what you do. Like, seriously, I know nothing about it. And it's just fascinating. I could just sit here and talk to you, but I have to go feed my family. And I'm sure you
I
have to, you have stuff
understand.
you
I
have
have to
to
eat
do.
myself.
So it's like, I'm just sitting here listening. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's this." That's the thing about this community and there's just the paranormal, supernatural. There's so much. And like what you said, when you think you know it all, you don't.
Exactly. That's why we have an entire Discord community of people that are trying to get answers. They're
Yeah.
trying to be a community for others, and it's just yeah, it's fantastic all the way around.
Well, thank you so much. Tell my listeners if they want to come and check you out, where can they find you?
Yeah, so the easiest place is so we're on all podcasting platforms, doesn't matter what it is. If you want an easy way to find us, we're on southerndemonology.com. It has all of our links, friends of the show. We have a Discord, we have a Patreon, all of this kind of stuff to try to keep the lights open, as of course everyone does. But it has all of the episodes. You can listen to them right there on the website, and it's updated every single time the RSS feed is updated. So
Wonderful. And guys, go find JJ. And while you're stalking him on social media, go ahead and find me too. I'm going to have all of his contact information in the show notes. I will have mine as well. And as always, thank you for listening. And until next time, they'll see you later. Hopefully, not what you're talking about. Hopefully, they won't see you later. But what I talk about on a regular basis, they'll see you later.
there you go.